Mr. Chairman, distinguished, but I hope now useless timekeeper, fellow members of the jury, supporters of the two teams, and you certainly are numerous, others who are here, ladies and gentlemen, and of course, and above all, members of the two teams, and of course also those who have organised the event. I must say I greatly enjoyed this debate. I went to a university in Ireland, Trinity College Dublin, as indeed did Mr. McCavitt, our chairman, and where there was a debating society which traces its lineage back to 1747, when a club was founded by Edmund Burke, best known today for his reflections on the revolution in France, but who became a very distinguished British parliamentarian and orator. The one thing I will say is that I think if Edmund Burke had to keep his orations inside a 6-minute time frame, he might not be as well remembered today as he is. We've had a very, and I understand from the French members of the jury that debating is not in fact particularly common in French universities, that there is no strong tradition of debating even in French, which makes this competition all the more important, but which also makes your performances, and obviously in particular those of you who do not have English as a mother tongue, which makes your performances all the more extraordinary and impressive. The debate had, in my view, pretty well all the things that a good debate should have, with one exception, which I'll come to at the very end. It had vigorous argument. It had humour, plenty of humour. It had cultural references, though I have to say, I was a bit alarmed that, in a way, that most of the cultural references seemed to be to sort of products of US popular culture, at least 20 years old. And I don't know if this was to make the members of the jury feel more at home, but I heard references to Forrest Gump and Tom and Jerry and Walt Disney. And I thought, and I spent a lot of time in Brussels listening to the French ambassador there talk about the importance of l'exception culturelle. But I can see, and it actually took our Canadian speaker to refer to the ornaments of European culture, such as Voltaire and Nietzsche, but even he spoiled it by ending up with Tom and Jerry. So we had that. We even had a little frisson of romance when Pole spoke about her hope one day to have a romantic date by the Eiffel Tower. It looked as if Mohammed was on the point, perhaps, of proposing that date. And the Eiffel Tower is even, in a way, within walking distance from here. It's a nice, mild evening. I don't know if there's a full moon. But we had all of that as well. We had rebuttal. We had points of order. Many, but not all of which were taken. We had coherence in the arguments of the two teams and consistency, very important, but also we had a variety of approaches as well. The one thing which was missing, and I can see how difficult it would be with an audience of this size, the one thing which was missing from the sort of classic British or Irish student debate was heckling from members from people on the floor, heckling being the sort of shouting out of rude or witty interjections, which the brilliant speaker can then answer like that. But I'm not encouraging heckles now, so you had your chance earlier, I assure you. But we had to come to a decision. Looking at the makeup of the competition, very striking indeed that we had the great majority of those taking part are from Paris or institutions based in Paris. Very, very good to have representation from Toulouse. And as an Irish rugby supporter, I know very well what the red and black connotes. I know that Toulouse is playing Munster in a few days. And I also thank the speaker, I think it was you, Jean-Baptiste, who referred to the French victory over England. You could equally have referred to the Irish victory over France as an example of a happy ending. But it was good to have Toulouse. Another thing I noticed was that, of course, the jury tonight, and in particular because one of our seventh member couldn't come at the end because he's unwell, we had a perfectly gender-balanced jury, 3 and 3. Gender balance was a bit lacking. At one point, one of the speakers for the Sciences Po team I can't remember which one, I have it in my notes, pointed to the Toulouse side and said, "You are all male. We are completely the opposite." Well, we're not completely the opposite. You have 1 woman out of 5, but I suppose it's going in that direction. But interesting to observe these phenomena. What you will all become in the future, again, interesting question. I mean, because when I went to university, virtually all of the good debaters ended up becoming barristers, lawyers in the courts. But there was one exception. The first woman, it took 206 years for a woman to be elected president or auditor of our debating society, but she went on to become our deputy prime minister. So there are occasionally people who do things other than them. But I hope very much. I had a trip to Airbus, in fact, about 10 days ago. So I hope you do use your skills in that field in the future. And Sciences Po, one meets so many Sciences Po graduates, and it is not fair to say that you're all going to be politicians. There is the occasional fonctionnaire as well. So thank you for that. But then we come to the judgment, I say. So it was very difficult. But in the end, we felt, and we debated this long and hard, in the end we came to a view which, even though the margins were narrow, it was in the end a unanimous decision, a consensus decision of the jury. We felt that it was a very difficult motion to grapple with. We felt it was a very difficult motion because it is, in a way, as some people say, it is a subjective motion. It's possible to interpret it in different ways. It isn't establishing a factual proposition to be debated one way or the other. So it was a difficult motion, and we felt that both sides grappled with it very well. But we felt one team was perhaps in the end somewhat more inventive than the other. We felt that both teams built their cases well, but don't worry. All's well that ends well. Don't worry. But we felt in the end that the winning team had just a bit more sparkle, a bit more wit, and probably did a better job as well in handling the ebb and flow of the debate. So though it was very close, I have to say that our winners tonight are super-héros.